I play everything from kind of pop rock ballads to be one of those situations where I want to hear more snare. And in my head, I'm like, I can't, the snare is just going to blow through. The first time doing karaoke, I was like 20 years old, had a fake ID, went to my buddy's 21st. And I just eventually got really good at it. And now I've gotten really, really good at it. So me personally, I think for the sake of music as an art form, I think it...
Hello, everybody. My name is Ari and Salimi, and you are listening to Bass Tunes on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. I have a very, 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 very special guest with me today. We have a singer-songwriter, great artist, the man who produces most of his own stuff, if not all of it. We got Morris Madrone in the building. How are you doing today, Morris?
Hey, Ari. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful Friday.
It's a beautiful Friday in Irvine, California, Orange County. I hope you have been enjoying your stay back here. I think you're visiting here. You're coming back here to visit your family.
I have some family here, and I'm also have some bandmates here, and we're rehearsing and getting ready to play some shows out in Europe. And
Europe? I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty cool. Well, before we get to the actual questions, you mind telling a little bit about yourself, a bit about your music?
So I'm a indie rock artist. And I play a bunch of, that's a very wide cast genre.
Yeah.
I play everything from kind of pop rock ballads to electronic dance music, very songwriter driven. It would draw influence from the 80s and the 70s era, as well as some of the earlier 2000s DJing and production. So
early 2000s DJing. I didn't.
Daft Punk, baby.
Oh, yeah, great. I'm a huge fan of the Discovery Project. I'm so sad that they, disbanded, but, how long did they go for? Like 20-odd years? 30 almost? I guess it was good enough. Yeah. Let's see here. Well, when I was looking at the website, right, I looked at the artist page about the man, the myth, the legend. I don't know if you wrote it yourself. I guess I'm going to do it for you, but it was a great little piece of, little great introduction to the artist, a little bio. Broke out the whole website. He's getting it going. One of the things I saw that was really interesting was that you initially started work writing music for film, gaming, and advertising. How did that differ in terms of like what you had to do for each medium?
Oh, it was whatever I could get my hands on. I was fresh out of college and I had a day job. I worked at Live Nation, but I was living in LA, and I had a bunch of friends in advertising and some young creatives. And essentially I would be writing and scoring. A lot of it started out as like runway tracks and modeling tracks because I had a buddy who worked for a modeling agency, and they needed these pretty much live scores to go with these runway models and these new shoots for these kind of web commercials. And so I picked up doing that. Then I had a buddy that started a video game company, and I did a couple scoring for that. A lot of it was just like small app-based stuff, and then it kind of branched out. People kind of knew me as doing jingles, and I did stuff for like Leisure World, and I had one that went nationwide where it was like a kind of like a lawyer whatever commercial. I just played like acoustic guitar. It was I didn't have a very successful career. I had a full-time job, but I would get $1,000 here or there to just write and produce,
especially when you're in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of rent. Yeah,
but it wasn't exactly soon into it. I found myself not enjoying the music creative process. It was it was restrictive. I had to go by someone else's creative dream or vision, and a lot of the time those people don't exactly know what they're talking about. They're like,
sense.
Oh, like I want this. I'm like, okay, I got that. I created like, oh, can you turn this up? And I'm like, I can't do that. And then a lot of the times it would be one of those situations where I want to hear more snare. And in my head, I'm like, I can't, the snare is just going to blow through the rest of the mix if I increase the snare. And so a lot of times I would tell them I tweaked it, waited a day, tell them, oh, how's this? Second time around, oh, I love it. It's perfect. So I just got over working with people. And I think I went into it initially because I was a little bit afraid to just be an artist. It takes kind of a lot of balls to put yourself out there and be like, look, this is me. I'm writing, I'm producing, I'm doing this, and I want to, actually make a living on stage. And I think I kind of copped out by starting with jingles when I probably should have been pursuing a career as a solo artist.
Yeah, I think that's true. I do think though there was some. I think there. I could. I guess steelman and say there was some benefit for that in sort of just working with different people is always helpful and sort of just like you're getting your feet wet into the sort of. I mean, I obviously like there's a difference between you're working in a band or you're having to deal with stuff like let's say record labels and like that. I know you're an independent artist, but like that sort of stuff in the music industry versus. You know, the way you described it seemed like there's sort of business executives, people who are like, oh, we want this thing. And they don't really know that much about the music making process.
Yeah.
And yeah, with that story about how you literally just turned the snare up, you didn't even turn it up. They asked you to. And then you just were like, okay, here it is. And they couldn't tell the difference, right?
Yeah,
Placebo
exactly.
effect. A lot of it. Yeah. I'm sure those skills, I think, are easy to develop. I think if you're just working in any sort of field, because like having to work with people is just. I'm not a huge team player personally, but it's just like
it's difficult. It's a very it's a developed skill set to be able to manage and work with people and manage expectations in any workforce,
any field. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely,
especially creative stuff. That's the biggest thing I sort of think about with regards to like people who want to, let's say, do something creative or something like a self-sufficient thing within the creative industry as like a career. That sort of balance between managing like how much of this is like with any hobby, I'd say you might want to say, hey, I would love to do this for a living. And then eventually, you know, the cows come home and then you realize that like it's harder than that. But that's more so like somebody who would want to, let's say, make games or something like that. Or instead just like having to work at some sort of IT company, just punching numbers all day. But I do think with the creative thing, it's a bit different. I was sort of thinking of like you know, like Twitch streamers and things like that. Yeah. Like streamers who sort of turn that into a career, and it's sort of a.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely say that with jingles in general, it got me working. Like I learned a lot of production techniques that if I was just, you know, it is hard to stay motivated as an artist. I mean, I have promoting myself, I have writing, producing, mixing, I perform everything. So it's pretty time consuming. It's a lot of work. So I think I'm very blessed in the jingle writing part of my career just because I had deadlines. It like forced me to, you know, sit down and finish a project within a couple days and move on to the next one. Whereas a lot of times when you're writing a song, and this is very common in artists, you might get, especially solo artists, at least I find that, you might get discouraged on a song and scrap it halfway through and never see it ever again. Where if you're in a jingle writing phase or you have to produce some type of creative content for someone, you can't throw it away. I mean, you can maybe scrap the draft, but immediately you have to go and recreate what you were trying to accomplish. So I think that is a very useful skill. It's just meeting deadlines and getting used to finishing projects and carrying that kind of mentality over into my career as a solo artist. I believe that has really helped me.
So would you say that is a bit of a challenge of would you say it's a bit of a challenge for you as a solo artist, sort of having the motivation to continue meeting deadlines and
Absolutely.
Sort of finishing things?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just, and life gets very, very busy. And I have a day job, and I mean, I've moved over the past couple years. It takes a lot of momentum and a kind of you want a really nice, safe place, at least for me, to the way I write and produce. I'm very loud. I like to sing. I've literally, when I first decided to become a solo artist, I moved out from LA to Denver and kept my remote job. And I rented a 1-bedroom house in a shittier part of town because I couldn't necessarily afford anything nice. And I couldn't afford a place in LA where I could be as loud as I want and, you know, be able to create music. And as a solo artist, I would essentially have this 1-bedroom house, set up an at-home studio, and would just practice in my free time and be as loud as I want, banged on drums, banged on guitars, recorded stuff without having, you know, in the back of my mind, oh, my neighbor's going to hear this. He's going to think I'm a weirdo. And I can't like get comfortable into that zone of creating.
Yeah. Would you say that was your main reason for moving out to, let's say, Denver?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the sole mission, was hermiting myself. I mean, it's just separating yourself from a lot of it, like separating yourself from your friends and what you know and getting out of your comfort zone, isolating yourself, putting your nose down, getting good at something. and kind of for me, it was finding my sound, finding what I want to create, even coming up with a stage name, Morris Madrone. It's all, creating that vision, bringing it to life. So
Yeah, especially when you're isolating yourself. I'm just sort of thinking of like, I don't know how much this has to relate to it, but for some reason I was thinking about the Kanye album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, where he basically shipped everyone off to some island in Hawaii and basically locked them in and said, you got to make music. He took everyone in, super stringent like that. Now, obviously, I think it's a bit different when it's a solo artist and not some maybe megalomaniacal sort of auteur. Yeah. But I think there are some similarities with that. Yeah. Speaking of the voice, I had this thing. So when I first heard your song, right, it was Ash Coomer, right? He told me about the interview. He told me about how great of an artist you were. And he's like, dude, you got to listen to Runways, because that was, I think, his favorite track. And I think the biggest one, too. It was a good one. And I sat down, and all I could think when I first heard you sing was, this guy had to have done choir or something like that. Because I don't know how a voice like that can just come out without some form of training and, work overtime to sculpt it. Whether that's, of course, solo or with another, like a mentor or a teacher or something like that. And I believe you did reply, we talked a little bit on the email before we ended up doing this interview, was the fact that I don't think you ever did any sort of like choral thing, right?
No, not growing up. Well, I didn't play any instruments until I was 19.
Right.
And then I started with piano, and then I started singing over it. And I actually discovered I was pretty good at singing. I could always sing in the car, but you're not listening to yourself sing.
Yeah.
And I found out the first time doing karaoke, I was 20 years old, had a fake ID, went to my buddy's 21st, and I sang this metal song, Sammy Hagar Heavy Metal, because I have this rock belt I can do.
Oh, yeah.
And I nailed it, and people were like, that was the first time I ever sang on a microphone.
Really? That late?
Yeah, I think I did a 5th grade talent show, but that was pretty much it.
That's different.
That's a lot different.
Yeah.
And so after that, I got the confidence, started singing, and then when I went to music school, I took a bunch of vocal lessons and training, and I was torn apart. I mean, there was all these crazy jazz singers like Adele and stuff, and I had never really sung, and I'm sitting in a small classroom, we're performing for each other, and these vocal teachers would tear you apart. It was kind of that whole whiplash thing where they would be like, you shouldn't sing. So a lot of the times, I'm known for singing, and at first, in music school, my only C was in a vocal performance class, where I got it was weird. It was scored where half of it was written, because you learn about the larynx, you learn about the epiglottal, you learn about the diaphragm and everything.
The biological stuff.
Yes, the anatomy of it, and then the other part was performing. And I botched my performances. I tried to swing for the fences, which I always do. If you ever listen to my songs, I go really hard on the vocal aspect.
Yeah.
And I tried doing that, and I bombed some of the performances, and to the point where this teacher's like, look, you got straight A's on the written. He's like, but you suck at singing. So you got an F. So you got an F on this portion. I'm going to give you a C. Only C I got in music school. And it wasn't a walk in the park. I mean, essentially I was pretty, there was a point I was pretty, down on myself, but I just loved singing. So I just kept doing it. And eventually singing is a lot about not only exercising those muscles, but then becoming confident in your voice and finding which ways you're best at manipulating your voice.
Yeah.
And I just eventually got really good at it. And now I've gotten really, really good at it. So it's just taken a lot of time. Denver helped a lot. Yeah.
What about Denver helped? Oh, just the isolation part of it and sort of having to focus on that.
Yeah.
And I assume you used some of the knowledge that you gathered in when you were taking class in music school to sort of develop it?
Yes. One of the things at music school in this conservatory in Columbia College in Chicago is they didn't allow me to, most of the performances except for the end of the year stuff, they don't let you sing in a microphone, which is so dumb because it's such a big part of the tool of singing. Especially when you're alive, like an actual professional, you're always singing into a microphone. You're messing with different, reverb, different delays, different kind of stuff like that. And they would always forbid it for most, vocal performances. But now when I went to Denver, I bought a mic. I would put on headphones. I got just used to hearing my voice and listening to it and playing with it a lot more. Then I experimented with some drugs. and had like some really, really big epiphanies with with exactly my sound, and like just one nice psychedelic experience really opened up my confidence in my voice. And honestly, since then, I've been singing like dimes.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting
there's always
story.
Yeah, some of my friends have been getting into psychedelics decent bit, and I sort of stay away from that stuff just because, like, for me personally, and I'll get back to what you're saying because some interesting stuff I want to ask about. It's just like I have this like thing where I need to control, like I like having control over my state of mind.
Yeah.
So it's whenever I try like actual like mentally altering substances, it would just be like, and I used to do a lot of research as a kid about this stuff.
Yeah.
I was on Xbox Live lobby, right, when I was, I was like 7 years old. My parents were like, okay, you can hop on the Xbox. Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But this like teenager was like, hey, what do you know? Oh, you know drugs? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like a little squeaky kid. And he's like, oh, what is this? And I started explaining it to him, like the most basic Wikipedia thing. And he's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, bro, I just read.
Yeah.
But all that stuff I realized was the sort of, you have to be willing to sort of let go of your control and sort of let it take over.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm in that state of mind yet, but
no.
Hey, one of these days, right? I'd say like mid-20s when you should probably try that stuff.
Yeah, anything. That's kind of when I was. Yeah, and you don't want to take any of those psychedelic drugs. I don't think you should take too early. You should not just like take it at a random party.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to use it. I think it's super good as a tool to be like, I want to, work on something creative or solve a problem in my life that I feel is super important. And you're at a point where you don't see any solution and you want to, broaden your horizon.
Yeah.
I really do think it helps. It's good to go with some buddies and really just get joy out of it as well, where you're like, you guys are just having conversations, talking about life, talking about that. And then there's also like, I've done some stuff, and I don't do a lot of drugs, like ever. It's kind of like, I haven't done psychedelics in 3 years. Hey. And I've probably only done it like maybe a couple, maybe not even a handful of times. So if you ever do, always start small, as small as you can. Exactly. And don't go straight into like, oh, I'm taking like 3 tubs of acid or something crazy like that. Highly don't do any of that.
Yeah, exactly. Just be
start
careful.
small.
Just be careful of anything.
Yeah, start super small. Yeah. If you ever do it, safe place, and don't do it for just the sake of doing it. I would say I go in with like a kind of like a plan on how you want to shape your experience and what you want to go out of there. Bring your journal, start writing, have like an activity.
Yeah, exactly. Set and setting and all that stuff too.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Cool, man. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Kind of lost my train of thought with the whole music school thing after that conversation, but that was a really interesting piece of the artist that I hadn't even known about, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you use to record your software? This is off topic, but like, do you use a DAW or like some sort of analog tape?
No, I use Apollo stuff. I've done some stuff on tape with a producer up in LA, but most of the stuff I'm recording through an Apollo Twin, and then I'm upgrading this year to an Apollo 8, which has 8 inputs. But essentially, it's pretty basic. Most of the stuff I'm recording in my apartment or my house. And transitioning into a studio and taking it with a real engineer to mix. But I come up with I write, produce it, come up with like a whole demo set, which most of the audio stems will end up transferring into the studio and remixing. But I record into an Ableton. I started on Pro Tools, switched to Logic, and then finally switched to Ableton like 3 years ago. I, as an artist and not primarily a sound engineer, I love Ableton. It has incredibly intuitive. It has a lot of different ways that you can create new sounds on it.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend that if you're a young artist and you want to be more on just like the arranging and basic production level.
Yeah.
I would go with Ableton. If you're a sound engineer, I would say Pro Tools is probably the industry standard.
Yeah.
But it does not necessarily matter. It's what you're most comfortable with, and whatever you can understand and make the best music on.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of my friends use Ableton. I ended up just using FL Studio personally from what I started with, just because, like, as I said, I don't really play any music. I did choir. But other than that, I would do aside from playing on the bass. Yeah. But like when I first started trying to make music, it was like 2016, 2017 SoundCloud rap. That was the hot thing. It might have been like past your time, but like when we were in like middle or high school, that was it. And it was these just like horrendous, like I feel like that was one of the biggest points where an artist could just turn on, like they had like a Blue Snowball or something super cheap like that.
Yeah.
Just mix into their computer, blown out beats, all that stuff, and just put it out on free platforms, and then eventually people just start signing. That was the days of the 360 deals. I don't know if
Yeah.
got a lot of love for the 360 deals.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
Yeah, I was being sarcastic there.
Yeah, it definitely depends. It can be beneficial. They also,
yeah, it can really be crippling as well. You just have to.
I mean, if you're a young teen pop kid and you really don't have much leverage, you just made like one kind of great song, and a record label comes in, blows it up,
TikTok viral type thing.
Yeah, then it's I think it's almost worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is the 360 deal, and if people don't know what we're talking about, essentially it's an all-inclusive record label signing deal where you sign off any and all entertainment rights to the record label. So a 360 deal is like, not only do they take part of your royalties, they'll take your performance revenue, they'll take merchandising revenue, they'll take licensing revenue. So they take everything, but they'll also put you on these people that sign these 360 deals, they'll get you on the Today Show, they'll get you on Jimmy Fallon, they'll get you like air time.
Yeah.
It's so difficult as an independent, it's nearly impossible as an independent artist, especially nowadays, to do that kind of stuff, because it's all pay to play and it's heavy dollars, and you have to have big contacts. It just doesn't really happen. You have to go viral, then go viral again, then they come to you. So it's 360 is not bad, but it's
really just depends on like where you are as an artist and what are you looking for. Because when you said like merchandising and performances, I was thinking like that's really where the bread and butter can come in for these artists, especially merchandising nowadays. I don't know how much of let's say an artist revenue has to do with performances, especially because you have big places now, these sort of big companies that sort of run a lot of the ticketing things. It's like if I buy a concert, it's probably going to be through Live Nation nowadays. Those sorts of things.
Yeah, Live Nation. Ugh.
Yeah, you didn't have fun working for them?
No, I hated working for them.
Really?
No, they're not. They're just a big corporation, and it's kind of, I don't like what they've necessarily done, I think, to the music and events.
Oh yeah, especially the events.
Yeah, because they buy all the tickets, and it hurts. It should be kind of illegal, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me was thinking there was some sort of like governmental, they're looking into it, but I'm not sure about that.
I think you're right. I think I did read up something in the past couple months.
Might have been Warren or something like that, or maybe it was the Biden administration. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I do hope that at least at some point they do take a look at that sort of thing and sort of see if it's violating antitrust and things like that. Because if you're just buying out all the competition, and this happens in a lot of industries nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I'm a gamer, so it happens a lot in the gaming industry, where nowadays in order to just sort of like get successful when you're starting up a platform, in order to get a leg up on the competition, you just sort of buy out the rights to a lot of big name stuff. You got Microsoft buying the whole Activision thing, and like that's cool, I guess. But now they're fighting about it in court, so maybe the courts are doing something.
Yeah,
it's instrument. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
shady. It's a little shady.
We'll see how it goes. I was gonna ask how has it been a challenge being independent, but I think we already got that answer. So how is it? Is there anything that being independent benefits you, at least for you personally as an artist?
I am a solo artist that has released 16 tracks. I own all my material. I don't need to be. Let's put it this way: to be as successful as, say, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I need to do as fourth as well as he is. Actually less, probably an eighth, because he's signed to a major label. If I just get, if I'm streaming like a million monthly listeners on Spotify, that's probably going to equate to $1,000 in royalties and some big contracts. And I would, some big, just like touring gigs. I don't need to be uber famous to make a great living, to, make $500,000 a year, which would be incredible on music.
An amazing thing.
Like, if I could, I could essentially tour the world playing venues that are like maybe like 1,000 person venues or down, like probably average like 500 person venues.
It's a lot of people too.
No, it's a lot of people, but a lot of those, they're selling out like 20,000 to 50,000
whole
person stadiums
and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, then those obviously have higher numbers. But if I'm just selling out if I'm selling like 400, 500 ticket shows, if I can get to that level, I'll be making a ton of money.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll help you sort of continue your artistry and continue your thing, and you get to keep the masters. And that's a big thing nowadays with artists wanting to keep their masters and don't want the label sort of holding the rights over that, which I do support.
Yeah.
There's just benefits and there's just ups and downs to going the independent or label route, especially nowadays with just like now at the very least people can get their names out there compared to, let's say, I don't know, like 50 years ago for something like that in terms of being a selling artist. Mm-hmm. But then you have to play, you got to put on a bunch of hats too. That's the other thing I noticed about just being a creator nowadays. It's not just being able to like
make
play
music. Yeah.
Now you have to run marketing. Now you have to do, I don't know. I guess that's the biggest thing, I suppose. The other sort of hat an artist has to wear nowadays, sort of getting their name out there, and especially the advent of short form content, because that's the wave now, right?
Yeah.
It's short form content, 30-second thing. You swipe up. You're not going to make any revenue off it. The whole point is to get people looking at you on other platforms, which might get some revenue off there. Like I think TikTok just barely started paying their people, and it's like pennies to the dollar.
Yeah, it's a me personally. I think for the sake of music as an art form, I think it has resulted in worse music overall coming out, and that's mainly because you can't put enough time. You're an artist that has to be, like a video director, a video editor, your own like cinematographer, your own social media. Like you have to do all that stuff as well as booking, taxes, like accounting.
Gotta love them taxes.
All that kind of stuff. Like I have to do everything on top of that, copywriting.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a lot, and essentially as an artist I spend maybe 5% of my time making music. And maybe 1% of my time performing it. All the rest is social media and all this stuff, and it's very unfortunate because I think a lot of the people that actually find success in music nowadays, they focus on the marketing first. So you're having people that are very good at creative content, which then leverage that following for music, where that's great, and that's like, it's no hate on them. They're hustlers, they're grinders, they're entrepreneurs, they're really going after it. However, they're talented in one aspect. That doesn't necessarily mean they're good at music. Just because you're really good at marketing and social media and all that stuff, and you have those habits and you have that skill set, doesn't necessarily mean you make good music. And record labels are quicker to sign someone with 100,000 followers that makes no music and is dog shit music, and compared to someone who has 500 followers and sings like Adele perfectly and writes it's just kind of
gotta have the image.
Yeah, you have to have not even the image. You have to essentially, you can even be like a beautiful female model who sings like Adele, and if you have 500 followers, it's just they just won't. Like, I guess your best chance if you're like that, you should just go on The Voice. But yeah, it's different. It's just it's kind of just a different world out there. But I mean, I'm making it. I'm slowly, surely creeping. It's the organic growth is happening. I do need to be more on top of the social media, and I notice when I release a lot of music, it's easier because the content just rolls with it.
Yeah.
But if I'm not touring and I'm not making and releasing music, it's hard for me to be like step away from my day job and everything else to be like, all right, like now it's like I have to post today and like go back to my posting schedule, and all right, let's come up with something funny and creative.
It's difficult.
Even though I have like my life's great, but I work, like, wake up, coffee, work, day job, work, music. And then on top of that, I have to like, all right, like let's come up with some creative video.
Yeah. So, do you think that like having a sort of, if you were to ever, let's say, like hire a team, for example, or not even like a label, just like have people sort of help you with that, do you think that would be beneficial for you as an artist?
Absolutely, man. That would be incredible. But to hire talent, good talent, that takes money.
And that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, right now.
All about the dollars.
Yeah, exactly. All the money that I'm making off royalties and stuff, which isn't that much. I mean, I have millions of streams and stuff, but I mean, it's only like
don't pay that much.
No, they don't. Like millions of streams, that's like $120. I'd probably make about $350 a month off of streaming, but I just roll that into Instagram swipe up ads and all that kind of stuff. And then I have to like have a budget to like travel to Europe on my own dime, and then like play these shows and stuff, and it's just I mean, it's more just for fun at this point. I mean, I'm making good money, and I'll never stop making music because I love it and I'm good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it is a grind, and I might have to go on one of those voice shows or like America's Got Talent or something just to get an extra jump on the social media game, because it just gets you a lot of publicity.
For sure.
But yeah, social media, I would absolutely hire out a team to take care of that. That'd be the first thing, and then the next would be an agent, a booking agent. It'd be a booking agent, a social media manager. Those are my next two hires.
Yeah. It's all pretty rewarding at the end, though, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. There's any time right now, it's just that 5%, like I was talking about earlier, of my time where I'm making music and performing music is just, it just feels
amazing,
so right. It feels so good. And I'm happy to do all the, eventually even, big artists, you're still doing so much other work besides just making music. But if I can get that 5% of music making up to like 25 or 50%, God, that would be incredible. And I could make way more music and then pick the best songs and it's do what I do best, which is make quality music and give it to the world.
It's been let me see here. So what are some of your plans for future music in terms of like touring or anything like that? You said you were going to Europe?
Yeah, so most of my following's in Europe.
Really?
Like 95% of my following's in Europe. Even though I'm from California and live in Nashville and all that.
Sometimes they just love it.
Yeah, no, it's the radio stations out there started playing Runaways when I did some Facebook swipe-up ads, and then it became a top Shazam song in Hungary, and then it spread to Turkey, and then it spread to Poland, Spain, and Italy, and even England. It's all over, but those are the songs that I'm comfortable selling, 200 plus tickets at. So I'm going to play shows in Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Turkey, Istanbul, and hopefully there's a place in Turkey called Bodrum, which is a very hot summer destination, kind of like the Mykonos of Turkey. And I'm really, really excited. I haven't booked. That's the last one I need to officially book, and hopefully, but it's going to be August 10th is Madrid, and then I have like Barcelona, Valencia, and then I fly out to Turkey, then I'm back. Yeah, so it's 2 weeks out there. 5 shows booked right now, 4 shows booked right now, looking to book a 5th, and come back, and then play a show in Orange County at the end of August, and then I'm booking a show in New York City end of September.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a grind, but it's so fun.
I'll say, I hope you enjoy visiting those places, because I was in Barcelona last year, and it's just a nice area. It's just a beautiful place.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just interesting, just like getting a different sort of culture, because I don't travel a ton. Most of my family's from Iran, so most of our budget ends up going to that, because I got to see the family,
Yeah.
Like, I assume you have most of your family out here, right?
Yes, most of my family is out here, but no, just the privilege of traveling is it's incredible. And a lot of these places will essentially cover the expense.
Oh, that's great.
Like they'll put me in a hotel, but like it's not like pretty much what I get paid off of is the merchandise for
that's the big thing.
Like I have this club, they fly me out, they put me in a hotel, and then I get like 1 meal stipend, which is great. But then eventually, you go Ubers to and from the airport. You have other meals and stuff. But it's essentially when I come back, I'm losing money.
Yeah.
But I'm gaining fans, and I have an incredible experience, and it's well worth it. Just spreading words.
It's all worth the work.
And it's easy to make content when you're on the road. That's for sure. As far as social media goes,
it's
like
too.
Like,
hey, look, it's Morris Madrone walking around Barcelona. Wow, look at this. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess to close it off, what are some of your other hobbies outside of music that you enjoy?
I enjoy working out. I enjoy a lot of outdoor activities. I like to ski, snowboard, surf, hike. I love the outdoors. Also, I like to invest in things. I like real estate.
That's
kind
fun,
of boring, but any extra dollar, I've tried to find ways where I can make more money. That's like residual income, almost like music royalties. And I've made some good investments over the past couple years saving up my money from my day job and bought some homes in Nashville and fixed them up. And I also built out a tour van, and I ended up renting that out, a little Sprinter van.
That's awesome, man.
So just my hobbies are making other, except for like exercise and, being outdoors, it's probably just making some other investments that can support my music.
The music's the main one, man.
Support my my music ventures.
That's awesome, man. I think that's about it for this interview. This has been a great time. I'm happy about this interview. It was really interesting to sort of look at the artist and sort of some of the other realities of being an artist. But I think at the end of the day, I think you'd agree that all the work, all the struggle ends up being worth it in the end when you can make your music and show love.
Absolutely.
Put it out for the fans and just have people appreciate a creation that you did yourself and show it to the world. That's just the best part of art, personally.
Yeah.
It's like my shows or anything like that. That's the benefit. That's all in the world. And that's just to have people appreciate your work, I think, is a feeling that you can't really get that anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. And I mean, it'll hopefully be on the internet for the rest of humanity, and who knows, maybe my grandkids are like listening to my stuff, be like, oh, like, or great grandkids, like,
that'd be awesome.
Dude. This guy was part of our family. He made some
great
music. And who knows, maybe some DJ like 100 years from now remixes my song, and then the royalties go to them and pay for my grandkids' college. That would be. I mean, it could. I mean, I do have some good music, so I'm just gonna keep making it, and hopefully I'm able to, get some real money this lifetime and make it a full-time career over the next year or two. But if not, I'm just gonna keep making music and releasing.
I hope so too, man. Listen, follow this guy, all right? You want to plug into your stuff?
Morris Madrone, at Morris Madrone on Instagram, at Morris Madrone on TikTok, YouTube. Definitely follow, subscribe at Morris Madrone on YouTube, Morris Madrone Studios, and then Spotify. I'm on every single, from Deezer, Apple Music, Amazon Music. I'm on every single streaming platform. Make sure you like, follow, share, send. All that stuff matters to us, small independent artists.
Helps with the algorithm, yeah.
Helps with the algorithm. It's huge. So essentially, make sure you're adding songs to playlists and stuff, songs that you like. But do a deep dive. I have 16 songs out right now, and they're all very different. So
it's a very, very discography. Obviously, Runway is a big one, but check out his other stuff too.
Something in the Heart. That's a sleeper. Everyone loves that one.
Really? I'll check that one out too.
Yeah.
All right. And for me personally, listen, I hope that you enjoyed this interview. Even if you didn't, there is a legal decree from me to you. Follow my Instagram. That is BasedTunesKuci. And again, check out Morris Madrone's music on all streaming platforms, and check him out on social media. Spread the word. And hey, who knows? He might come to your city. If you're listening to somewhere in the world, he might come and see you.
Yeah.
Go check out his shows, man. Get that merch.
Morris Madrone, Something in the Heart.
Let's go! We're doing it for the people! All right. That was Base Tunes. Remember, stay based. Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is. It's Fred Durst Friday.